Hey guys, it's me again with Michael. Hopefully there won't be any spitting involved this week. But I wanted to tell you guys a few more things about China. So last week we talked about lots of just kind of like random facts about China, like that they have lots of people in their country, that their government is really powerful and controls a lot of things that they do. And so today we're going to talk about Christians in China specifically. So Christians still, there's a lot of Christians in China, but it's not the majority of the Chinese people. So like most people in China aren't necessarily Christian. But China has as many as 1 million new believers every month. So the estimates are kind of hard to tell because there's no organization that can really go through and say, are you a Christian, are you a Christian, are you a Christian, right? So it's kind of an estimate. And the government doesn't really want to admit that there are as many Christians there as there are. But so the Christian church in China is growing very quickly, and it's continuing to grow a lot. So one of the problems that they face is not only does the government want them to not be growing, but also they don't have enough Bibles in China. China actually prints most of the world's Bibles, but they're mostly printed in other languages other than Chinese. And so the problem is that even though they have all these Bibles that are going out to all these different places, like I said, there's not very many in Chinese. So, and with as many as 1 million people becoming new believers in Christ every month, then that's a lot of Bibles that they don't have. And so one of the ways that we can pray for them is that they will be more Bibles in China. So some of the ways that the Chinese church is challenged is, I told you the government doesn't really like them as much, right? Because they feel threatened by them a little bit. And so in China, the government really keeps kind of tabs on what you're doing. And so they have this thing that's called a social credit score. And what that is basically for adults, China sort of keeps track of what you do online, the things that you post on social media, like on Facebook, the sorts of videos you look at on YouTube, the things that you search for to purchase on Amazon or things like that. Also, they keep track of where you go and what you do and who you hang out with. And so if you hang out with people that are known to be Christians, or you go to a church that is publicly, a church that has a sign out, right, saying it's a church, then your points go down. And so if you have a low score, then that makes it to where you can't buy an airplane ticket, buy a train ticket. You don't get as good at jobs. You don't, if you have a low score. So we know you're a Christian, you hang out with Christians, maybe you pastor a church or you serve in a church. You post or share things online about sermons or church ministries and things like that. Then your score goes low. The government can actually, because of the low score, they can kick you out of the house that you live in. They can fire you from your job. And for mommies and daddies, they can actually make it to where their kids can't go to as good a school. So that would be you guys not getting to go to a good school because your parents were Christians. Things like that. Another issue with Bibles in China is that because the government controls what we call censors the internet, so they only let certain things show up on the internet. So if you search on Amazon for a Bible, even though lots and lots of Bibles are made in China, it'll show up there's no results, there's no Bibles to purchase. And we know that there are, it's just that the government controls sort of what you can see on the internet. They also have access, the government keeps access to people's phones. So here in the U.S., if police want to pull up stuff from somebody's phone or whatever, look through their phone and see their photos or their videos, they have to go through this process and have a reason to need it. that they're investigating something, okay? In China, there's people that have taken videos of like police coming in and like coming in and stealing Bibles out of churches or things like that, or and so if they video that, they'll say, oh, I'm going to capture this, I'm going to share it online so the world can see what's going on. Well, then when they go to like post that video, they realize that the video isn't on their phone. It's been deleted. And that's because the government has gone in and has access to their phones and has deleted it. That's kind of freaky, right? So that's an issue because they don't have a good way of saying this is what's going on, this is what's happening, if they can't share those pictures and videos and things like that. So in China, I know we've talked a lot about house churches, which are small groups of people that meet, usually anywhere from like 5 to 30 people that meet maybe in a business or a home, things like that. And they just meet with those small groups and they study the Bible and they do church just in that small area. They don't have like a big church building that they go to. Well, in China, they have that. Do not play your dog guitar. In China, they do that, but also they do have some churches that typically they have a smaller building or they rent. Hold on just a second. We got a dog guitar going off. Okay, so leave that alone. So some churches do have their own spaces that they rent, kind of like we do in our church building, and those are known to be churches. So those are allowed to be there, but the government has done this new thing where they want to have video cameras in all the churches so they know exactly what the pastors are preaching about and things like that, so that then if they're saying things that they don't like, then they can call them in to the police station and things like that. Another thing that the government does is, even though they do allow some of these churches to exist publicly, so like to be a known church, is that they'll come in every now and then and like do things to sort of stir up trouble, like tear the cross off the church or tear the sign down that says that they meet there. They may come in and take up all the Bibles and then take them out in the street and burn the Bibles and things like that. And then if you try to take a video, they'll push you aside, take your cell phone, all sorts of things like that. Then in house churches, what the government sometimes will say is that like, oh, you're plotting to do something to overthrow the government, or anything. And they really don't even have to. They can just say stuff like that you're like, this is completely ridiculous. But you can't argue with it because they're the police and they're the government, and you can't control that. So some of the things that are going on with like the COVID-19 stuff is that the church in China is really they've really been really big in trying to spread the word about Jesus, but they're really working extra hard during what's going on with all the people getting sick. Now we know that China is not as bad there's not as many sick people there as there were before. But some of the things that Christians were doing in China was taking face masks that you might have seen some people wear. You might have parents or friends that may have worn one. But they were taking face masks and handing them out to people on the street and saying, this is free, this is free. And a lot of times it'd be in a plastic bag with like a little piece of paper in it, talking about what Christians believe and why, and things like that. So that gave them an extra opportunity to share the gospel with people. That's all I'm going to tell you guys about China. We will talk more about it next week. Bye, guys.